Boom. All right, what's going on, you guys? It's roycejak. Welcome back to the channel and welcome back to Stock Talk, series where we cover exciting news and price action in regard to some of the stocks we've been talking about on the channel. In today's case, we are covering the cannabis sector. These stocks are looking strong right now, and I personally see big things ahead for some of these companies. So let's get into it. As always, we'll go over each topic that we're going to be discussing, and then we'll dive into each one individually. In front of us, of course, TradingView, where we will take a look at the following names today in this order going down the watch list: Aurora Cannabis, Tilray, Canopy Growth, Chronos Group, and Aphria. Okay, so a lot of green across the board here, you guys. Green across the entire watch list, very appropriate for the cannabis sector. And yeah, I'm excited to talk price action with you guys and let you know where I think these stocks could be going in regard to price. Okay, in terms of news, there are a lot of fundamental drivers for cannabis right now, but we're just going to be focusing on what sent it smoking hot today. Why marijuana stocks are smoking hot today. Mr. Rich Smith could not pass that one up, huh? So this is a great article talking about the United Nations, talking about some regulatory clearance for the cannabis sector. Good news coming, especially as we see this Biden presidency start to roll into effect. The left tends to be a little more accepting of cannabis, so that's obviously good for the sector. That said, we will be reading over this. Great news fundamentally, and of course we will take a look at the technicals as well. Before we do though, I will ask you to please give the video a like if you do go on to gain value from it today, or if you're invested in any of the stocks we're talking about. Subscribe to the channel if you're new around here, want to catch more content like this, and of course check out my complete portfolio daily newsletter, first link in the description, if you want to know exactly how I'm trading this sector personally, as well as my entire portfolio. So a complete breakdown of my entire portfolio. I do update that every trading day. Then with every update, I also send an email newsletter out explaining my thoughts. This is during market hours. This is real-time updates from me. If you don't want to wait for a video later in the day, sometimes at night for many of you guys. And yeah, you do get direct access to me via email if you want to ask me any specific questions regarding the portfolio. Okay, so appreciate it if you check that out. Join the Waves fam. If not, no worries at all though. Let's get into this analysis. Of course, we will kick it off with the fundamentals because we have to know what caused this price action today. Once again, shout out to Rich Smith. Gonna tease him a little bit here, but great article. Credit where credit is due. What happened? Marijuana stocks went on a tear Wednesday, with shares of Aurora Cannabis rising 9.7%, Aphria going up 9.4%, and industry giant Canopy Growth gaining 5.7% through 12:30. You can thank the United Nations for that. So what? Earlier this morning, by a vote of 27 to 25, it's cutting a little close there, but still won it out. The United Nations Commission on Narcotic Drugs approved a decision to remove cannabis from Schedule 4 of the UN's 1961, that's so dated, you guys, Single Convention on Narcotic Drugs. In effect, although cannabis remains a banned drug for non-medical use under the UN law, reports Vice.com, it's now been officially differentiated from more dangerous drugs such as heroin, and it can be legally used as a medical treatment in countries signatory to the treaty. So again, you guys, it's only a matter of time. Like many chemicals out there, like some supplements you can take, like even caffeine, this cannabis affects everyone very differently. I used to smoke a lot when I was younger. I don't so much anymore personally. I'm being transparent with here with you guys today. I do it at night sometimes just to relax, just to ease the mind, but I've really stayed away from it. And out of personal experience, the reason I'm saying this is because it has affected me the older I've got. The older I get, the more I don't react well to cannabis. And again, that's just to show that even within your own body, within your own biochemistry, cannabis can affect you differently over the course of your life. So think about how differently it can affect people. I know so many people who can smoke and they're actually more functional when they smoke, and they're more creative, and there's so many positive aspects to cannabis just from a smoking or ingesting in perspective, whether you're doing oils or whatever your ingesting method is of cannabis and THC. There's a lot of potential upside. There's a lot of potential benefits to it, especially when you find the medicinal uses, the medical uses for marijuana as well. I mean, it makes sense that you would classify this obviously in a separate class as heroin. It's looking back, it's crazy that you can go into all kind of the lobbying that went on in the 60s and whatnot, reefer madness. Not going to do that now, but there's so much shadiness and so much like big lobbying, of course, that went into really putting a lot of propaganda around marijuana. And it's just crazy to know that up until now, cannabis was in the same drug class as heroin. So sorry, that was a little rant right there, you guys, but I think that we're definitely moving in the right direction. This is just my opinion, remember that. But I think we're moving in the right direction with further regulatory clearance around cannabis. Experts are calling the decision a giant step toward the normalization of cannabis in medicine above all. As Marijuana Business Daily reported today, countries that basically mirror the UN rescheduling their domestic legalization can be expected to move toward national descheduling and remove obstacles to use cannabis for medical and research purposes. Now what? The UN's decision seems to promise an immediate boost for stocks that supply marijuana for medical users, as do each of Aurora, Canopy, and Aphria. In time, could even lead to full-scale legalization, not just in the US, but around the world. And marijuana investors are pretty high on that prospect too. Mr. Rich feeling punny today, eh? Okay, so again, you guys, great news from a fundamental perspective for cannabis. The more we lean, I feel like the next couple of years, if you really want to zoom out and go long term here, this trend is not going to reverse. Now that this trend has started, and I do believe we're still fairly early on this trend because so many states are still have to legalize it and whatnot. Again, we're stepping in the right direction, but I do still think from a long-term time horizon perspective, we're still early on this trend, which is always good news if you're as an investor, not a trader, but as an investor. Okay, so that said, let's move on to some technicals. Get exciting here with this price action. Again, green across the board today, here today, you guys. You'll love to see it. Kicking it off with Aurora Cannabis. I'm going to tell you guys right now that my two favorite stocks in this sector personally are Chronos and Aphria. I'm going to save those for the end. But for full transparency, I want you guys to know that I like these two companies more than the first three we're going to cover. But still going to cover them all in case any of you guys are interested, and I hope some of you guys are. Please let me know down below what your favorite stock in this sector, or not in this, maybe in this sector as a whole, but especially on this watch list, what your favorite stock is. I'm genuinely curious. Okay, so ACB, you guys, I altered. So when I opened this up this morning, I think the last time I did an analysis, when I drew these arrows, was back in almost a month ago in like mid-November, early November. And this was about here. So with these price targets today, because I did promise price targets, I am going to just go Christmas. These are all pretty optimistic price targets, you guys. You're going to see that, and I want to get that out of the way now. These are all optimistic price targets. Keep in mind, these things could reverse, these things could tank, but I remain bullish, especially with all the fundamental stars aligning for cannabis as well. But again, the technicals look good too. You're seeing some, volume's definitely fallen off a little bit since this huge spike in Aurora, but considering it was so low just over the course of the past few months, this volume is actually looking very nice. Okay, so again, I did draw this like a few weeks back, and this is surprisingly following this trajectory very, very nicely. So we saw a very inorganic parabolic run up in Aurora. So it doesn't take a rocket scientist to know that we were going to see a pretty significant correction. We did end up correcting down here to fill this gap area. We pretty much perfectly filled this gap and capitulated around here for the course of a week or so. And now we're beginning this next move up. So this area right here at like 1230-ish has proved to be a very historical ceiling. I'm not going to zoom out right now. Historic ceiling for Aurora Cannabis just in the past, just in like 2018 bull market and whatnot. So we are probably going to see some resistance around here, but just because, again, the fundamentals are really driving this market forward, I think it's very likely that we come up to, again, Christmas price target, $19.50, call it an even $20 around Christmas. So for Aurora Cannabis, I would expect if we do continue this rally, of course, this goes for all of these. If we continue this rally, I expect to see an Aurora Cannabis at around $19.50 by Christmas. Okay, so the reason I say that, let's zoom out a little bit here. Actually, let's go to the 5-year because actually there's a larger price target. You know, we'll go to the yearly to bring us to the daily candles. So you can see here the reason I have this price target for ACB is because this was a previous high setback in May. Okay, and we saw a significant spike up there. If we zoom out here, you can see the reason it spiked up there. Not perfectly in line. I actually would have expected it to come to like more of this area where it set these lows here, maybe around here. So another area would be like here that I think we could definitely see a ceiling or see some resistance for ACB. So if we continue to run up, that just looks pretty organically correct to me too, just from looking at so many charts. I would be surprised if we come up to test this like $16.50 region, bounce off there, and then if we continue that, maybe continue to like the $20 region. So that's what I expect for Aurora. Let's keep it moving because I don't want to spend too much time on these. We got 5 to go through. So Tilray is a pretty simple one right now. So Tilray, again, you guys, we've seen some inorganic growth, and this is a big reason that I really like specifically Chronos right now, which we will get to. Okay, so Tilray is following a pretty clean ascending channel right now that it began in early October. You can see it's just, aside from obviously this this outlier of like a day or two, where it just completely exploded, went parabolic from, where is that, from like $8 to $12. That's insane. So we saw that crazy parabola immediately. I remember when this happened, the bubble popped and we saw it come back down, fall back into this channel, and that it's once again in this ascending channel. So it will stay in this channel until we break out. And I just talked about this in the newsletter this morning too, is I really like ascending channels that, especially if right here on a daily, like let's go back to the 4 hour. I thought we were on the 4 hour, honestly, you guys. So this is even more impressive of an ascending channel, you guys, because it's spanned for significantly over a month now. Again, aside from this, just discount this. This is an ascending channel that's been going for over a month. And now the longer ascending channels last, just in my like personal experience, the longer it goes, the more you're seeing volume's looking really good. The longer it stays within that channel, the more it mitigates the downside risk, because I don't think people, like, it's very unlikely, unless something catastrophic happens, in my opinion, for Tilray to break out of this channel. So worst case scenario, we come down to like the 740 region and test the lower side of this channel. But I think ultimately we will break out of the top side of this channel, and then this is where things get very potentially bullish for Tilray. And keep in mind, you guys, Tilray in the cannabis bubble, I remember buying Tilray at $20. When it first IPO'd back in 2018, me and my buddy bought some Tilray, bought a pretty amount of Tilray shares, and then it went all the way up to over $200. I ended up selling because I was a youngin', not super young, but I mean, the bubbles, it can always be crazy sometimes. The hype can get to your head sometimes. I ended up selling around like 150 or something, I think. So still obviously a great profit, very thankful for that profit. But it's important for you guys to understand what these stocks can do. So that's why I'll zoom out until right after this, after I talk to you guys about my price target. So we have right here, this green arrow right here ends on December 24th. This is a very optimistic, but I think a pretty realistic price target, considering Tilray, again, IPO'd around $20. It could have been, I think it was like $18 exactly. I think Tilray IPO'd at like $18. But it wouldn't surprise me at all, again, with all the fundamental catalysts, financials aside, because Tilray's financials are a little rough. I think we could definitely see it test this uptrend. So we saw this first point of contact on this line of resistance on this more medium-term uptrend, I'll call it, at around 666. Maybe this won't play out. Second, on November 9th, right here at about $12, and then Christmas price target is $20 on the dot, which again, you guys, I think is possible. So let's go here. Let's just go to 5 year just to really zoom out. 5 year here, another price target I have. Look at this, you guys. Okay, so Tilray IPO'd at about $21, or TradingView started tracking it at $22. It might have IPO'd at 22. I know it's somewhere right around 20. And then you can see this crazy rise. We spent a week up at $300. Oh my God. I was after I said 200, I was like, I'm pretty sure it reached like 250. It reached $300. This candle right here reached $300. It ended up selling again around here. I sold probably around this area, like around here, like when it probably popped back up right here is that area I sold. So again, still a great trade, but just to show you guys what can happen when hype consumes the markets, which I think, to be honest, is about to happen again in crypto. Obviously, we saw the crypto bull run. Crypto's about to see this again, in my opinion, at an even greater scale. And I think cannabis could see something similar. I think people are a little more aware that cannabis and crypto are different in the sense that cannabis companies still have to rely on financials. Crypto is a little different because it's like almost a currency asset class, which makes it completely void of financials. Like, they don't have to make sales to create value within the product, but cannabis still does, and that's what makes me think we're probably not going to see a crazy bull run like this again. Like Tilray, there's no chance in my mind that Tilray reaches $300 again, at least for the next decade. But I think we could easily come to this area. We spent so much time around here from December of 2018 to March of 2019 at about $75. So I think Tilray could easily, from a technical perspective at least, come up to $75 by the end of this new 2021 cannabis bull market. So Tilray looking actually pretty good now. I looked at this earlier and I didn't really like what I saw, but now that I'm talking about it more, I'm kind of liking what I'm seeing. So newsletter, prepare for that tomorrow morning. So yeah, you guys, $20 price target right here. We could see some resistance around here where we spent some time at around $15 psychological even to but you're still looking at like a 2x from this point at 860, you guys. And again, if we do reach 20 bucks, which is not crazy at all for Tilray, as we just learned, I wouldn't be surprised. So Tilray looking promising. CGC, Canopy Growth, the big dog right here, is following. Let's get off this weekly, make this look a little more digestible. So Canopy is an easy one because it's just following a textbook ascending channel once again. So ascending channel started back when all the other ones did, early October. You can see it fall like come down here, is really going sideways for a while, but now it's created an ascending channel. The downside risk for Canopy is much lower. It's like I think if you guys are trying to weigh risk, and this is just kind of a good trading law, right? Like law of trading, but this is trading 101 too. Trying to mitigate risk. If you're at the bottom, if you're at the lower end of the ascending channel, that's when it becomes a pretty good trade, in my opinion. So I'd like low side, again, because the fundamentals are strong. The fundamentals have to be strong to validate the technicals. I would be surprised if like the low end is 27 bucks, so that's $1. So you're looking at like maybe a 4 or 5% correction downside at the most. But the upside potential, which I think is very likely, it's very likely we test the top side of this channel right here around like 34 bucks. So Christmas, let's see Christmas, if it does test the top side of this channel around Christmas, which is right ish, we could see a $38 Canopy. And again, Canopy is the largest stock in the sector by market cap at $10.5 billion. So I don't like Canopy that much. They are like the OG. They're the biggest company. They do have a lot of great partnerships and stuff. So I think Canopy is a safe bet. Again, you guys, none of this is advice. I got to keep saying that for just so I don't get in no troubles. Canopy, in my opinion, is a pretty safe bet if you want to play in this sector. It's gonna do well long term. It's very likely, in my opinion, to do well over the long term. Again, if we do see another bull market in the cannabis sector, Canopy is the king. It's going to remain that way. It's kind of like Bitcoin to cryptocurrencies, and I think Canopy is a safe place. But let's move on to my personal favorite plays right now, Chronos and Aphria. So Chronos is looking good in the sense that I'll show you guys right here. Okay, so Chronos is using this beautiful line. So we were in an ascending channel from March on Chronos. So Chronos is acting differently to the entire sector, which is why I actually like it that much more. I like when there's kind of an outlier in the sector because that proves a little more potential. It's not going quite as parabolic as the other ones. It's doing very well. It did go pretty parabolic right here with the others, but the chart, it looks more inviting to me personally because I'm looking at what we're looking at together right here, and I'll explain that. So right here on this ascending channel from March to before it broke below it in August. So it's been a very long time. Again, so many ascending channels. I love ascending channels, again, just because they're so damn easy to read. Broke below here. You can see once it broke this very strong line of support, it really broke down from like 650 down to like 550. So it's like a 20% pullback. And it's been capitulating and going sideways for the most part ever since. Now, we actually technically broke back into this ascending channel right here. Barely, we closed below it, but we did technically break it on the 9th of November, and now we're using this line that was once a strong line of support as a strong line of resistance. So this is going to act as a significant line of resistance for Tilray, Chronos Group, but I do think we'll break out of this. Again, if the cannabis sector continues to rally, it's inevitable in my mind that Chronos will break out of this right here, and we're pretty darn close. So we just have to get to 920, like 930. If we can close a 4-hour above 930, I become extremely bullish on Chronos Group. I think that's very likely. And then once we reclaim this ascending channel right here, I think it's very likely we once again test the top side of this channel around $12.80 if we have that Christmas. It's going to be a green Christmas, you guys. We've been saying it for crypto, but it makes even more sense with cannabis. Let's see a green Christmas this year. That would take us to a $12.80 Chronos Group stock. So Chronos, again, I've always liked Chronos' business model as well. They don't have that medical kind of connection that Canopy and Aphria does. But I really like the approach. They're really getting into drinks right now. They have a partnership with, oh my gosh, you guys, it's been so long since I've like really dug in to Chronos. Please correct me on this if I'm wrong. I believe they have a partnership with, it's a company like Pepsi or something, like a very large company. They're going into CBD beverages and whatnot. Please correct me on that if I'm wrong, but it's something of that sort. They have a partnership with a large brand that makes distribution and manufacturing for some of these products very easy. So I'm sorry about that if I am wrong, but that's what I have you guys for. love learning from you guys. Last but not least, Aphria, maybe the one I've been the most bullish on. This, shout out to you guys, portfolio group. Show some love in the chat, in the comments right now, just because this was an absolute phenom in my portfolio. Like, I picked up some calls, like a fairly small position in Aphria. Honestly, when like back here, probably like in this area right here, I think it picked it up for like around $5.50. And these, I was like, okay, this is a good play. I'm pretty bullish on cannabis, so I'm just gonna pick up some Aphria calls. And these things, which I like, are up over 400%. So I pretty much 5x'd my money in a pretty short amount of time with these Aphria calls, and those have been like one of the big contributors actually. That's the beauty of like options again, is these small, what are relatively small positions can provide crazy gains and really balance out a portfolio nicely. Because you guys know we talk about so many sectors, and that's why diversification is good, especially in these revolutionary sectors like cannabis right now, is because these things can run. EVs too. Like these sectors all kind of fluctuate, but I mean that's why it's very good to have balance, because if you have one small position absolutely rip, even if the rest of your portfolio is kind of in the mud, it can really help balance it out and really float it. And fortunately for us, or for me, most of the sectors have been doing extremely well. Again, very grateful for that. But again, these Aphria calls crushed it for me. And although I am the most bullish on Aphria fundamentally, like their financials in my opinion are the most solid, and they're sitting at a pretty small market. Like Chronos is 3 billion, Tilray is probably around this size as well. Canopy once again 10 billion, and Aurora I think is around 4 billion or something like that. Again, correct me on this if I'm wrong, you guys. I'm just throwing out educated guesses out there, but 2.4 billion as one of the smallest market caps in this sector. I like small market caps. There's more potential for upside with less capital inflow. You guys know I like that. And although I am fundamentally bullish on Aphria over any of these other companies, I think Aphria has seen a little too parabolic of a move in the past since the beginning of November. So at the beginning of November, we were at $4.30. We reached a high of $8.60. So that's exactly a 2x. When you see 100% gain like that, although we are correcting a little bit now, we have pulled back a little bit. I do think that we have a further way to go. So if I in all honesty right now, I'm actually going to move that right there because that looks more correct now that I'm looking at it. There's two scenarios that could play out for Aphria. So the first is that because we broke this long-term trend line right here, which is a very, very, very important trend line that so many traders are going to be looking at, 3 points of contact, 3 clean points of contact. And it's continued this rally for the most part. It did go sideways. You can almost say it broke that rally around here, but I don't think so. I think this is a continuation. That is why it's using it as such a significant line of resistance. So we know this is in effect. This trend line is in effect right now because it's pretty much crawling right on top of it as we make this video. So because we did technically break out of it, I wouldn't be surprised if we see it break out even further. And my top side, like very, very optimistic. If we do break out of this, I think we'll see a run straight up to like $10 for the most part. 1070 is where I have this line of resistance, where I have this ceiling that's acted as a historical ceiling for Aphria. That's what all these like straight lines you guys see are going to be. It's historical lines and historical ceilings. So if we do break this significantly, I think it's only a matter of time until we climb up to, again, like the 10, at least $10 just to make a conservative estimate. Psychological even as well, we'll probably see some resistance around $10. But again, that's you're looking at 20%, 17% to be specific if we do reach $10 from here. No, actually, no, sorry. I mean, it would be like closer to 20%. Or we do use this as a line of resistance just because we've ran up so much in Aphria. Pull back to the previous high before we had this crazy run up just over the past week or so. Previous high right here, you see a lot like just Aphria spent a lot of time around the 650 region. So either we just continue to break out, head up to $10 pretty soon, or we pull back and come down to, again, the previous high. In rallies, it's not uncommon at all. This goes for every sector across the entire market, for stocks to pull back to their previous high prior to continuing their rally. So I wouldn't be surprised also if we see Aphria to pull back to about $6.60, that region right there. And at that point, Aphria would be looking very, very good to me. Again, fundamentally bullish. I will remain fundamentally bullish on Aphria for the foreseeable future, for like the long-term future. But from a technical perspective, I'll be very, 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 very bullish if we come down and use this 660 line, bounce off of it, because then I think we'll ultimately continue this rally. And $10, this area right here, $10.70 is my overall price target for Aphria. Again, whether we hit it in a week or in a month and a half, 2 months, I don't know. That is going to be my price target. And the reason for that is because that has acted as, like, you can see here, just really spanning back this area right here. Actually, we can probably pull it down a little bit just to be a little more conservative. So conservatively down to like the 1030 region, just to be conservative. We spent, like, this has acted as a very historic ceiling for Aphria. You see here back in May of 2018, May, June, and then February, March of 2019. It's really had a hard time getting above this like 1050 region. So I think 1050 could be a conservative estimate. Again, the fundamentals behind these companies is stronger than they've ever been. So they deserve to be higher, in my opinion, but you guys have to remember that this was a speculative hype bubble, and it was a bubble, so valuations got completely out of whack. And I think it's very possible for Aphria to reach, I mean, if it were to, it was at $20, which isn't even that crazy. So it could, like, even if it were to 2x, it would only be at a $5 billion value. It could 4x from here and be the same size as Canopy, which I think is easily possible over the span of a few years. So, I mean, you're looking at a 4x. You're looking at like a $35 Aphria. So that's important to keep in mind, you guys, if you do want to invest in these. Again, trading and investing are two different things. From both perspectives, they look exciting. Again, very fundamentally bullish on all of these plays long term. I think they'll all perform very well over the coming years. But I think we could definitely see a little pop, especially considering stimulus is coming and money is just pumping. Okay, so I'm very bullish on this. Let me know down below again, once again, you guys, what your favorite stock in this sector is and what your favorite stock among this watch list right here is. I know you guys, trust me, in 2018 when I was trading this market, this sector I should say, there are so many smaller, like the micro caps, the small caps, penny stocks involved in cannabis. And trust me, guys, I made a lot of money. I lost more money from trading those and trying to trade those. So I don't do that. To each their own. If you guys want to do that, that's perfectly fine. And but I will say I'm just sticking to the big dogs. It's the safest. Market cap weighted is always like a safe way to go, especially if you're in an already pretty shaky, like volatile sector. So again, just some 2 cents from me. Let me know what you want to talk about. Talk about literally anything downstairs. Catch you down there. Until next time, guys, always remember, take action, make waves. Peace.